Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived a king and a queen who had a terrible tragedy. A tragedy in some ways similar to that of Texas in the story I just told. For it was that they had no child at all. And the years went past and still they had no child. They didn't know what to do. And so the king gathered all of his advisors to ask if they knew anything that might solve the problem. One of the advisors had heard a legend, a myth, of a pomegranate tree. And this pomegranate tree, if any woman ate half and any man ate the other half, they were guaranteed to have a child. But he warned the king that the pomegranate tree was guarded by a horrible witch. She had taken it over from a sage. And this witch was so mean-hearted, so cold-hearted, that she could not bear for anyone to be happy. And so she had placed a terrible spell on the pomegranate tree so that no one would be able to have it. Well, the king didn't want to risk his own life, so he asked if someone else might be able to go and try and get the pomegranate. But the advisor said no, it only works for the person who has picked it. And so the king had no choice. One night, when there was no moon, so it was as dark and as secretive and as safe as he could make it, he rode out to where the pomegranate tree was. He put his horse by the side, so under the cover of the shadows he could walk up to the pomegranate tree and see if he might steal it before the witch knew he was there. And indeed, everything seemed to be going as though it was decided by fate. There was not a hint of danger. And so he climbed the tree and touched a great big pomegranate fruit. But scarcely had he done so when he froze in place. Not a single part of him could move, not even his eyes to blink. And then he heard a terrible and what should happen? But the witch appeared before him. Oh, you foolish king! Did you think I would really leave my favorite pomegranate tree undetected? I am a witch! I put a spell on the tree so that anyone who touches it will freeze in place and be at my mercy. But the spell must be getting weaker because you've managed to take a fruit. And once you've taken the fruit, it's yours, and there's nothing I can do to stop you. But I'm going to tell you about my second spell, and you can see if you really want to eat this fruit. For you see, you have taken the fruit when there's no moon at all. And so in my spell, any child you have will belong to me when there's a full moon. And he will turn into an eagle, and he will fly straight to me, and he will be mine for that day. And if anyone ever learns about this, the child will be mine forever. Well, the king thought to himself, how could a baby boy become an eagle? That was just it. So, once he could move again, he went back with the pomegranate, and he and the queen ate the pomegranate, and it was delicious. One of the best pomegranates they had ever eaten. And 9 months later, exactly as the story told, they had a beautiful baby boy. And when the moon came, the boy stayed a baby boy. A year passed, 2 years passed, 3 years passed, 4 years passed, 5 years passed, 6 years passed, 7 years passed, 8 years passed, 9 years passed, 10 years passed. And every time there was a full moon, that baby boy stayed a boy. And so the king and queen forgot all about the curse. But the month after his 10th birthday, when the full moon came to the sky, what should happen? But that baby boy, who wasn't a baby anymore, but was now a young boy, turned into an eagle right in front of the king and queen's eyes. He flew out the window, and where he went they didn't know. But he came back in the morning and turned back into their son. Well, from that day forward, every time there was going to be a full moon, they locked him up in a room so that no one could stumble upon him and learn his secret. And every time he turned into an eagle, left, and came back. What they didn't know is that that evil witch was so upset that the king had managed to get a pomegranate despite her magic, that she was not content having their son for only 1 day a month. She wanted to ruin his life forever. And so she sent him to a cave where he took a golden thread and brought it back to her. And she wove it into a beautiful golden blouse. But this wasn't just a pretty blouse. It was a magic blouse. Whoever wore it the prince would have to fall in love with her at once. And the witch's plan was to give this blouse to an old hag, so that the poor prince would be married to an old hag and in love with an old hag until the day she died. Once the blouse was ready, the witch looked for a suitable candidate. Days passed and she couldn't find someone until finally an old beggar woman who had no teeth at all knocked on her door, not knowing it was a witch, and asked for just some food, some breadcrumbs, anything. Well, this was exactly who the witch had been waiting for. And so she said, not only will I give you some food, I will also give you this beautiful golden blouse. Well, the beggar woman was amazed. But the blouse was so beautiful that she couldn't bear to wear it. I mean, she got dirty all the time, walking from house to house begging for food. The blouse would be ruined if she put it on, and so she kept it, every now and then taking it out at night to be amazed at her beautiful blouse. Meanwhile, in another far land, there was another king and another queen. They didn't have a son. Instead, they had 3 beautiful, talented, smart daughters. And one day, when the king was getting ready to go on a trip, he asked the daughters what they wanted. The first one said she wanted a bracelet covered with jewels. The second one said she wanted a golden comb full of diamonds. But the third one had everything she already wanted, so she couldn't think of anything to say. The king said, don't worry, if you think of something in the morning, I will get it for you. And what should happen but that night, she had an amazing dream. She saw herself wearing a blouse that shimmered of gold, so beautiful, so bright, it was like a little sun. And a wonderful young man came into the room where she stood, and she knew at once that this was her fate, her bashert, her destined husband. And so she awoke, and her poor heart had been ripped in two, because she knew she had found her love, but she had found him in a dream with no way of finding him. But at least she could ask for the golden blouse of her dream, and so she did. Well, when the king traveled, it was easy to find a bracelet covered with jewels. Skilled jewelers made those. It was easy to find a golden comb inlaid with diamonds. Skilled jewelers made those too. But try as he did, he could not find a blouse made of gold. No one made that. And so the word of his quest spread. Unfortunately for him, he was in the land where the beggar woman lived. And a king was exactly who she thought deserved to have the golden blouse. And so she came to him and presented it. Well, he was amazed and offered her a purse full of golden coins, and at first she said, no, it's just joy for me to know that the blouse will be worn by someone who deserves it. But he would not take no for an answer, and finally gave her so much that she was settled and happy for the rest of her life and never needed to beg for bread again. Indeed, she lived happily ever after, outside of this story. But as for the king, the golden blouse, the daughter, and the prince who turned into an eagle, the princess was overjoyed when she saw the golden blouse.